Good Friday to everybody. Thanks for clicking on to today's European Outlook. It is the end of another working week and the beginning of the weekend once again. And that brings me on nicely to say that we have got a content-filled weekend as always here in the channel. Tropical Outlook tomorrow, and then on Sunday, 4 p.m, the live stream will be looking at the snowstorm that hit Everest, the first US EF5 tornado in 12 years, and much, much more. Major flooding in parts of Vietnam, exceptional heat across parts of the central United States, and the fluctuations that we've seen here in the west of Europe over the past week or so. So I will leave a link in the description below for the live stream on Sunday. Click on that and hit the notify me bell so you will get a reminder when I go live this upcoming Sunday. So hope you can join me for that. Be sure to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already done so. As always, a lot of varied content here on the channel. So this time last week, we were under the grip of Storm Amy, became a record breaker for both low pressure and wind, both for the month of October, but also all-time records for wind in such places as Tain, just 18 or so miles up the road here from Vogan Weather HQ. But this was the chart late on Friday evening, 21:30 to be exact. We've seen a pressure of 952 millibars. That pressure eventually dropped to 942 millibars. But over Shetland, early on Saturday morning, we've seen a record for October for the UK of 944 millibars. The contrast between this upcoming early Saturday versus last could not be greater. In fact, we're talking essentially 90 plus millibar difference between last Saturday morning versus this Saturday morning. We've got a pressure at around 1035 millibars centered over Eastern Republic of Ireland. We've obviously got a lot of dry weather, but that being said, we've not got a lot of sunny weather, and the reasons for that is this area of high pressure is cycling a lot of moist air, so cloudy conditions getting entrained underneath this lid of high pressure over the UK, Ireland atmosphere. So therefore, we've not been seeing just quite so much the cold nights associated with October high pressure. But where we do get the clear skies and the light winds, we do see the temperatures coming down. We see fog developing quite readily under such conditions as we begin to see the sun become a little bit less strong at this time of the year. Nights are longer than days now, and we've got this kind of gradual downward progress in terms of sun strength and energy from that. But generally speaking, we've got this blocking area of high pressure at the moment, and that is creating a bit of an issue down in Iberia. Now, one of my colleagues is actually, due to head out to fly to Alicante from Manchester tomorrow afternoon. But the problem is that we have got a red warning in place down here. Now, the latest radar imagery shows pretty much high dry across UK and Ireland. But quite often we've got this high over the UK. You've got some sort of disturbed weather down towards the Iberian Peninsula, and that is exactly what we're seeing at the moment here. You can see, difficult to see, I appreciate that, but down across that southeast corner of Spain, we've got some heavy precipitation at the moment. We've got actually an easterly airflow around this area of high pressure over the UK and Ireland that is pulling moisture off what is reasonably warm sea surface temperatures at the moment here. If we look at the current SSTs along the east coast of Spain, we're generally talking 23 Celsius at the moment here. We've also got, if you look at this pressure chart of the Met Office, there's the area of high pressure, but we've got this black line in the pressure field here showing a little disturbance, a little wave, so to speak, riding a kind of slack easterly airflow. In fact, there really is not an awful lot of wind to speak about, but winds are going to begin to pick up through the course of the weekend. The problem is when you've got this little disturbance in the atmosphere, you then enhance lift, you encourage lift within the atmosphere. And when you've got both the orographic influence of eastern Iberia warm waters, 23 Celsius, and you've got the relevant lift within the atmosphere, you then generate some very lively showers and thunderstorms. And it looks as if this disturbance seen here on visible satellite imagery, there's the UK, we've got the sunny skies in the east. We've seen a new date record, for example, in Aberdeen, 20 Celsius at least this afternoon. Much cloudier conditions, much cooler conditions on the western side of Scotland here. We've had pretty consistent strong westerly winds over the past 5 days or so, thanks to the northern UK being on that northern flank of the high. So you've got the winds riding around that area of high pressure. Sunny conditions, central and southern portions of France, with exceptions of perhaps over the French Alps. But you can see here this massive cloud over, particularly focused over the southeast of Spain, that is associated with some thunderstorms here. So you can see close up here the disturbed weather, and you can see that little bit of motion with the clouds here on visible satellite showing a little bit of an easterly component, but you can see this kind of brighter whites here, representative of stronger thunderstorms developing here. This is generally from kind of Alicante up towards the Benidorm area of Spain here. So onshore flow, that bumps into the higher terrain just inland from the coast. You've got that lift, you've got those thunderstorms, and we're going to see some significant thunderstorm activity over the course of the weekend here. Off and on showers, I would imagine, but nevertheless, it is looking like a rather unsettled week. And I do know that Kenny's been told that his flight may be cancelled. I'm not entirely sure the latest information, but he is, like I said, due kind of late afternoon into the evening time, due to fly from Manchester down to Alicante. But you can see here further west over Spain, further north, you've got sunnier skies, you've got warmer temperatures as a consequence of that. So looking at the current European temperatures here, nothing too exceptional in terms of temperature, but if you look down to Iberia, we've got actually fresher conditions across the UK in the south compared to the northeast corner of Scotland, for example, where this is the warmest part of the British Isles. But so let me have a quick check here of the current Spain temperatures. And where you've got the sunshine, you've got the warmest temperatures, particularly so western Spain into Portugal, not too bad. 28, 29 Celsius, probably a local 30 there this afternoon on this Friday late afternoon. Yeah, you've got the coolest conditions where you've got that massive cloud and the shower activity, only talking about still not too bad. 17 inland, 23 at the coast here, 17, 18, 19 Celsius. So generally the coolest conditions are underneath that rainfall. We're going to see more rain over the next few days, mid-20s across the Balearics, as can be seen here. But if we zoom into the past 72 hour in terms of rainfall, this is the last 48 hours, in fact, and we have seen significant amounts of rain already flooding in the Alicante area. And these rainfall totals, unfortunately, are going to continue to add up as we progress through the next 72 hours or so. This feature is going to stick around probably till about Monday, unfortunately, because of the setup. Strong block to the north. This disturbance kind of stuck underneath the block. And obviously, when you've got a lot of moist air coming in off that warm Mediterranean, and the orographic influence as well, we're going to just continue to see these off and on showers that will continue to provide flooding in localised areas. Little in the way of rain further west and north over the peninsula, as can be seen here. Like I said, it is windy on the northern flank of the high. You can see here, this is 12 UTC tomorrow, so still that westerly flow riding and cycling around the area of high pressure. Little in the way of rain, it has to be said, over really the next 10 days across the bulk of the UK as well as Ireland, as we're stuck beneath that 1035 plus high. It's going to flex its muscles here in terms of intensity over the next week or so here, but it's not going to go anywhere. We've also got windier conditions coming in from an east and northeasterly direction over the western Mediterranean here, so you've got that wind picking up through the Balearics and into the Mediterranean coast of Spain. In terms of rainfall then, This is over the next couple of days. You can see here, this is off the GFS. Let's have a quick look at Iberia. In fact, let's just go all the way out. This is rainfall all the way out till the end of Monday. You can see here little in the way of rainfall across the majority of the UK and Ireland here, so high and dry conditions, albeit cloudy. We will start to see breaks in that cloud, perhaps in places where you've got those breaks, you're going to see the temperatures respond. A little bit of wet weather across the very far north of the Outer Hebrides and mainland Scotland, as can be seen here. You've got some wet weather along the north coast of Turkey into western Georgia, for example. But it looks as if the wettest conditions anywhere in Europe. We do have wet weather, it has to be said, up towards Norway. As that flow comes around that high, you're pulling a lot of moisture off the Atlantic and bumping into the west coast of Norway. But that region right in that central Mediterranean coast of Spain is the area to watch. That is going to be the main place for heavy rainfall away from Norway, for example, over the next week or so. This is off the ECMWF. Sorry about that. This is off the ECMWF, and you can see here, if we zoom in to Spain itself and look at rainfall totals between now and the end of Monday, and you're talking in excess of 150 millimeters in some places. Some of the rainfall will be out over the open water, for example, but you can see here anywhere from Murcia all the way up towards the Barcelona area, maybe, points further south than Barcelona right enough, but up through Valencia, this region here between Murcia, Alicante, up towards Valencia, and points further north. This is where we're going to see an ongoing flood threat over the next week or so here. And then as we continue to play all the way through till the end of the period, we're talking about some very big rainfall totals then starting to show up over the northwest of Iberia, something to pay close attention to. Anyway, temperatures across the UK currently this afternoon, and then we'll look at the subtropical storm Karen that developed over the last 24 hours or so, the most northerly on record, I believe it is. But there you go, temperatures of 19-20 Celsius around between Aboyne and Aberdeen. I believe that's a new date record for the 10th of October for Aberdeen Dice Airport, where it did hit 20 Celsius a little bit earlier this afternoon. But you can see here generally mid to high teens across the south, upper teens to around 20 in the east of Scotland. But then where you've got the stronger westerly wind and the cloud cover, you've got temperatures stuck at anywhere from 11 to 13 Celsius quite uniformly from southwest all the way up to the west. You've got generally 13 to 15 Celsius in northwestern England, mid-teens, high teens across parts of Wales, southwestern and southern England. A bit fresher where you've got thicker cloud cover across Ireland and Northern Ireland, as can be seen here. But as already alluded to here, this area of high pressure ain't going anywhere fast. You can see here this system that is subtropical storm Karen, not going to affect the UK because we've got this block in place, as can be seen here. But look at how this area of low pressure just kind of winds up. We've got this high over Greenland, stopping it from heading too far north. But this is all the way out to Monday of next week. This area of energy here associated with this subtropical feature that kind of developed, kind of felt like out of nowhere. It's got nowhere to go. We've got high pressure to the west, east, and north. So it just kind of winds in place over the North Atlantic for the next several days. And then we've got this feature here, which is interesting off the ECMWF model. Remember I showed you showing very wet conditions across the northwest of Iberia. Still, as of Tuesday, 21 UTC, we've still got 1034 plus high bang slap over the UK and Ireland here. Cloud amounts will vary, but rainfall, very little in the way of rainfall, in fact. And then as we continue to play all the way through, eventually, this is all the way out to a week on Monday, so a long way off, we may begin to see some form of change. And it would not surprise me with that, given the fact that the MJO looks as if it's going to rotate back into phases 2, 3, and 4 as we move towards a couple of weeks from now. So obviously, Not a huge amount going on at this moment in time. Let's very quickly end with this look at the upcoming temperature regime here for the UK and Ireland. Let's just see here. So if we look at the GFS ensemble, let's have a look at the 500s first, and you can see here that pressure continues to just remain anchored in place, kind of drifts off to the northwest if you notice here. And that has been something that's been getting alluded to for quite some time. This is all the way out to the 21st of October. You notice that high then eventually slides up towards Greenland. We do have a negative AO-NAO signal showing up. The significance of that isn't so much for the late October period, but potential repetitive pattern repetition perhaps. So if we get this negative NAO signal towards the back half of the month, do we get a repeat of that? Perhaps into the month of November that they deliver something a wee bit more interesting. Who knows? We will wait and see. In terms of the temperature anomalies then, let's go to the upcoming 5 days. Warmer than average away from Ireland, as can be seen here, into the 6 to 10 day here. We kind of have a still average to marginally above average temperature profile. Nothing particularly exciting if you notice here. The 11 to 15 day were something a little bit cooler showing up. But let's just finish off by showing subtropical storm Karen has developed, like I say, the most northerly on record, I believe. You can see here as we play through. It's always good to actually look at where the fronts are and the pressure pattern with the fronts associated with that. You can see here as we continue to play through, Karen then becomes absorbed with a normal area of low pressure X. Subtropical storm Karen, it looks as if the Met model is indicating that it gets pretty close to the west-southwest of Ireland here, around this area of high pressure remaining at 1035 millibars. Do we get some sort of odd kind of sneaking underneath the area of high pressure? I don't know, but they're certainly getting relatively close to the UK, and then in the next frame you notice it dissipates completely here. It just fades away as it becomes absorbed by that area of high pressure. But you can see here as we continue to play all the way into the early portions of next week, we've got a lot of weather here out over the central Atlantic, but it can't go anywhere due to that area of high pressure over the UK and Ireland. So that is it for today. Hope you're enjoying what you're seeing. Like and subscribe, and Tropical Outlook tomorrow, and then on Sunday 4 p.m. as usual, live stream. Hope you can join me for that. Enjoy the rest of your Friday and have a great weekend ahead. Bye for now.